it's definitely something that nobody's ever experienced before, and I just really am a believer that you have to make the absolute most out of every situation, and that sometimes what seems like one of the greatest disasters can become one of the greatest victories. And so I'm really looking forward in every way possible to uniting with my staff in ways that we haven't before and motivating our teams in ways that we maybe took for granted before. And so with that being said, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about how we're coping and how we're dealing with just walking through this, and I'm happy to share. And one other piece of it is I think this is a really pivotal time where not only our teams and our staffs can come together, but our whole department can. We can learn from each other. We can encourage each other. We can give each other tips of what we're doing and what's working, and essentially to use the isolation as a time of unification instead of a time of being sad, because you can't just stay in the place that we're in right now. We have to make the most of it. So,
hey, Coach, this is Gavin Good with 247 Sports. Just wondering kind of what the moment was like when you guys found out as a team that the season was canceled, and just kind of what the team's immediate reaction was.
Well, for us it was interesting because we were actually in the gym practicing, and my student athletes came to practice that day. There was questions about what is going to happen. They were wondering, and there was uncertainty, and we did not have, as a staff and as a head coach, as their leader, their mentor, who they were looking to, I did not have the final answers yet. I had a feeling that it was going to be over just through dialogue that I was having with other Big Ten head coaches and with administration, but it wasn't finalized yet. And so we were actually in practice, and because this might have happened, we changed the way we approached practice that very day and said, all right, let's take the whole team to vault together. Let's all go there and do our routine together. Let's go do our bar routines together, and then go to beam together and go to floor. And I just simulated not like a meet, but a time where they were all together. They were able to watch each other, cheer for each other, and since they knew that there was a possibility that what they were doing was about to potentially be taken away from them and taken away from every student athlete across the country and the world, they trained with so much gratitude. It was amazing. I just stood back and watched them, and I had to, in some ways, fight back tears because it was really moving to know that they were doing it without knowing it was their last practice. But I got to just watch this entire thing unfold, and I walked over to my staff, and we were about halfway through the workout, and I found out from athletic director Josh Whitman through an email that it was, in fact, going to be over. And so I just whispered into their ears, hey, guys, just so you know, this is their last day. And they looked at me, and their eyes just, it was like the communication that you have without actually communicating verbally. It was the understood that today we had an opportunity and a responsibility to make today a great day for them. And so we went all the way through the practice, and the girls were on fire. They were so excited. They literally, it was all coming together because we're a team that always peaks at the right time, and we're going into postseason. And so it was very evident that they were doing amazing. They did their routines great. They were unified, their energy, and they were really carrying each other. And so at the end of that workout, we sat down, and it was frustrating to not be able to share it with them because the actual Big Ten announcement and the athletics department announcement wasn't going to go out for another hour, so I was not allowed to share it with them. So I just sat them down, and we just said, hey, we're going to meet back here at 4 o'clock or whatever the time was, and we're going to be here, and we're going to have an answer for you, and we're going to be here for you. We're going to walk through this. We're going to get through this together, but just really encourage them that you did this was an amazing practice. It was very obvious that you decided to no longer let anything hold you back. Nothing mentally, physically, emotionally got in the way. You just made sure you did it with pure love and pure joy. And that was the way I left them. Went to our all athletics meeting, got the news, and then went back to the gym, met the team. And unfortunately, they had to hear it through social media, which is what I really did not want. I wanted to be able to be there with them, but even though we weren't there in the moments when they found out, we got to be there for about 2 hours after and just really process together and walk them through what was happening together. And Yeah, so that was my replay of the day in a way of answering your question.
Coach, it's Gavin again. You said you're a team that seems to always peak at the right time. Um, where did you think you guys were at? You know, you still had a little bit of time before NCAAs and Big Tens, but like you said, you know, it was really coming into that time. And as Coach Spring said earlier, you know, and gymnastics is one of those sports where the postseason really is kind of where so much is decided.
He may feel that way. I'm not sure that I feel that way. I think for us, we had just come off of a meet against University of Kentucky, and Kentucky is ranked 12th, and we only lost by 2/10 of a point. And when you go to an SEC program and you only lose by 2/10 when you're on their turf in their field, or not their field, but in their home court, then you know that our rankings aren't exactly always completely accurate. It really is an opportunity when you can get a women's gymnastics team to be in the arena with another women's gymnastics team and you can go head to head, you can see where you really stack up. And so to me, we looked like at that point we were 24th, Kentucky was 12th, but it wasn't that much of a divide. So for us, going into postseason is your opportunity to show everybody and even yourselves that maybe the judges separate the rankings based off the scores that different teams have gotten, but it's anybody's day, anybody's game, and we focus so much our entire season on just unifying our team and having the same vision and being like-minded and dealing with conflict and working through adversity that we had worked through all that. We did the hard stuff. We cleaned the gymnastics. We finalized the routines, the lineups, and we had previously during that Kentucky meet the night before sat down with the whole team on the road, worked through just more of that unresolved, whether it be conflict or it be doubt. We worked through all that. And for me as a head coach, this is my 18th season doing this. I can tell when my teams are ready. And I do the process slower because if you go slower and you build, it's solidified. And so watching the team at Kentucky and then going into our last practice, it was solidified. My athletes were going to go into Big Tens, they were going to go into postseason, and they were going to be very, very solid. And it was going to be anybody's day that day on that competition day, and they won't get to do that. So it's super disheartening to know that we didn't get to have the results of that. But what I want my athletes to do is just stay unbelievably hungry because this will pass, it will end, and we need to be the team that picks up where we left off mentally, and instead of just kind of like taking 20 steps back. So even though Justin thinks that the postseason's decided for women's gymnastics, it's truly not. You get there and you can be the deciding factor as long as you decide before you walk in the arena that your team decides before they walk in the arena that they're going to give it their all and be 100% unified.
Hi, Natalie. Peyton Westner with Illini Sports Night here. It sounds as though you and the team, although having the next meet at Oregon State, you and the team were currently, I guess, in Champaign, training there before traveling out there when all this came to be, correct?
Yeah, we were supposed to get on the plane that night or that afternoon.
I guess with that in mind, it sounds like with the men's gymnastics team, they were out in Puerto Rico. Do you and, I guess not to speak for the team, but I guess you can, do you personally feel fortunate that all of you were, I guess, on campus instead of, in transit or in travel when, everything came to be?
Yeah, I really do feel fortunate that we were home because we don't always get the opportunity to travel every single person. And so it really created an environment where we could lean on each other. The girls could share tears together. They could share stories of with the seniors, like, hey, sorry, I'm kind of going a little fast for my thoughts. The girls on the team could look to the seniors and tell them what they loved and appreciated about them right there on the spot. And if we would have been on the road, we would have been separated. And so I do feel fortunate to have been together.
I know Ray has been dealing with, I know she had hand surgery, I think is what I saw. How does this, if granted another year of eligibility, I cannot make an assumption. Maybe she was going to get a medical register if she applied for that. But what's her status, and how does maybe this situation turn to be, something positive for her, someone who's been dealing with injuries during our senior season?
For Ray Balthazar, she absolutely is a standout star for our program, for the sport in general. Everybody around the gymnastics world, they know her all the way down to her haircut, her toe point, her gymnastics. And so she has endured quite a few unfortunate, just heart-shattering injuries that took her out of 2 seasons. And if she gets another year of eligibility back, one thing that just makes me so proud of her is that Ray took 2 very hard, difficult situations of season-ending injuries, and she turned it for good. She poured into her team. She never sat back and felt sorry for herself. She pressed on. She stayed focused and detail-oriented, and she did everything in her power to stayed committed to the sport. But what she truly was doing was she was becoming committed to herself, to putting herself first, not in a selfish way, but in a necessary way in the growing up process of being able to grow from Ray the gymnast to Ray the young woman who's ready to move on with life. And so if another year of eligibility would be returned, I don't foresee Ray being an athlete that's going to take that. I foresee Ray being an athlete that's going to take everything she learned as an Illini gymnast in my program and in throughout the life of all the coaches that have poured into her. She's going to take all of what she learned, and she's ready to give back to the world. She's ready to help people. She's ready to move on to the next step of her life. And so even though she's not going to probably use it towards gymnastics, it's so rewarding as a coach to know that an athlete can make a decision to be done, and that the decision with COVID-19 didn't make the decision for her. She made those decisions because she had matured and grows into just a young woman who's ready. And that's huge for us as gymnasts and as gymnastics coaches, because gymnastics is a sport where they do it from the time they're 2, 3, or 4 years old. They don't do anything else. They're constantly in the gym. They're training 20 to 40, 30 hours a week. That's what they do. That's their life. And so much of my job is helping them discover their identity and who they are without it. So for Ray, she lost her ability to do the competition part by 2 injuries, but she gained so much more in being ready to move on, knowing that she has a ton to offer. And so I'm super excited for her, even though she's probably not going to come back with another year of training.
Hey, Natalie, it's Gavin again. Kind of going off that, talking about Ray, are you expecting, if granted another year of eligibility, are you thinking any of your seniors might come back, or are there more similar situations to Ray?
I think I have probably a very mature group of seniors who have a lot of life aspirations and goals, and were good planners, knowing what they want to do. And so I do foresee that potentially maybe Karen Howell would come back. She's already just expressed wanting to have that final bit of closure. So I know that with Morgan Bixler, she had already been really pursuing some amazing internship and job opportunities. And so same thing with Brittany Jones. She's from Arizona, and she's kind of a free spirit. So I don't know what to expect from Brittany Jones, but I know that gymnastics gave her a great ride, and I think she ended on a mountaintop experience of being a senior and being able to get routines together and get out there and be competing. And so I would say Karen Howell would be my athlete that would want to come back.
Just in general, obviously it's a tough situation whether athletes will get another year or not, but how many other factors play into, the NCAA's decision here, where they've got to take into account how scholarships will be affected, how many seniors, as you said, have, solid career leads and plans and all that?
Obviously, you mentioned some of the biggest factors is the financial implications, the scholarship numbers, the roster numbers, things like that. And I'm not sure if I'm one of the only coaches that has this perspective, but my perspective is when you truly love something and you don't feel like you had peace and closure, there's always other possibilities where you don't have to maintain being on a scholarship. To be honest, I hope that the NCAA takes a look and they say, all right, these athletes did not get the opportunity to have their year like fully completed. And I'm speaking specifically about the winter sports. I think the spring sports, it's an entirely different situation because they hadn't even started their years yet. But with the winter sports, I really hope that the NCAA will allow student athletes to take another year of eligibility, but they can take out a loan. They can pay for their last year of school. If they've been on scholarship all 4 years or 3 years, 2 years, then there's nothing wrong with a student athlete making a decision to do what they want to do and investing some of the financial part themselves, and that would really balance it out where the universities are not going to fall into a great hole where it's going to affect us in a way that would be almost nearly impossible to climb out of. So I have a little bit of a different perspective. I think that when you love something, it's worth the investment, and I hope the NCAA will allow them the opportunity to get another year, but I don't think that it has to be something that the universities have to be at expense for.